They say legends never die. In just a few short years, James Dean skyrocketed to Hollywood fame, only to meet a tragic and mysterious end at the age of 24. But was his death simply an accident, or was there a dark curse at play? This is the tragic final chapter in James Dean's life. James Dean had it all: talent, looks, and insatiable thirst for speed. But on September 30, 1955, that very passion would lead to his untimely demise, as he sped toward a racing event in Salinas in his brand new Porsche Spyder. Dean was blissfully unaware that this drive would be his last. But what if I told you that just days before, a legendary actor had predicted his death? The great Alec Guinness, the man who would later play Obi-Wan Kenobi, met Dean just days before the crash and delivered an ominous warning: if you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week. A chilling prophecy that would come true in the most horrifying way. On that fateful day, Dean, accompanied by his mechanic Ralph Broderick, was driving towards Salinas. Originally, he had planned to tow the car to the race, but Broderick insisted he drive it to get a feel for the Porsche before the big event. Dean agreed, sliding behind the wheel of what would soon become a death trap. At 3:30 p.m., the first ominous sign appeared: a speeding ticket in Bakersfield. But it was only a taste of the tragedy that lay ahead. At 5:45 p.m., while driving along U.S. Route 566, Dean's Porsche collided head-on with a Ford Tudor sedan. The impact was devastating. Dean's foot was crushed between the brake and the clutch. His neck and arms snapped, and his internal injuries were catastrophic. He died almost instantly. Broderick, however, survived, though he would be haunted by the crash for the rest of his life. But here's where it gets strange. Witnesses claimed Dean wasn't speeding at the time of the crash. Instead, it was the other driver, Donald Turnipseed, who swerved into Dean's lane. In the fading light of dusk, Turnipseed never saw Dean coming.
Do you have any special advice for the young people who drive?
Take it easy driving. The life you might save might be mine.
James Dean's tragic end only fueled his legend, but it also sparked a series of eerie events that made people question if something more sinister was at play. Broderick, who survived the crash, was plagued by guilt. He attempted suicide twice and even tried to murder his wife in a failed murder-suicide attempt. He eventually died in another car crash in 1981 after a night of drinking. But that was just the beginning of the curse that seemed to surround Dean's death. Was it a coincidence, or was James Dean's Porsche truly cursed? After the crash, the car brought tragedy to nearly everyone who came into contact with it. A mechanic was crushed when the Porsche fell off a truck. Other cars that received parts from Dean's Porsche were involved in gruesome accidents. Even the truck transporting the car's chassis slid off the road, killing its driver. And the most chilling part, the chassis disappeared, never to be found again. The curse of James Dean's Porsche still haunts the world to this day. The curse didn't just affect Dean. It extended to those around him, particularly the cast of Rebel Without a Cause. Dean's co-stars met tragic fates. Nick Adams overdosed, Sal Mineo was brutally murdered, and Natalie Wood drowned under suspicious circumstances. Was it all just a tragic series of events, or did the shadows of Dean's death reach out to claim them too? But before he left this world, James Dean carried one last secret. One that would break hearts. After his death, a pamphlet was found among his belongings, an order for the solemnization of marriage. The name Pierre was written in the space reserved for the bride's name. Dean had intended to marry Pier Angeli, his lost love. Pier Angeli herself would meet a tragic end just years later. She died from an overdose of barbiturates at the age of 39. What if they had made it down the aisle? Would their love have saved them from the darkness that eventually consumed them. James Dean's life was a whirlwind of fame, love, and tragedy, ending in a car crash that left behind more questions than answers. But was his death truly the end, or did it mark the beginning of an even darker legacy? Don't miss the videos on the life of Alain Delon, initially hailed as the French James Dean. Dive into the life of another icon whose journey through fame and heartbreak mirrors Dean's in a striking ways. Stay tuned to discover how Delon's story intertwines with the legacy of James Dean.